like 6 times a week. I don't even like the taste of it anymore.
I feel old.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a YouTuber. But before I ever had aspirations of becoming one, I had one hero, Bruce Lee. Not only did he kick ass, but he overcame some tough situations. Outnumbered by school? Wata! Nunchucks! Tricky mirrors? Break 'em all! Fighting Chuck Norris? Force him to gain pounds off screen! Bruce Lee has undoubtedly left the biggest mark for Asian Americans in both film and martial arts. He was the lead in Warner Bros. Enter the Dragon and invented Jeet Kune Do/MMA by combining aspects from each and every other martial arts style. He's basically the Michael Jordan for martial arts. But in this video, I mainly want to focus on one thing that came out of Lee's life, and that is the show Warrior. It was late afternoon, or so I believe, and it had been a week or two since I finished Game of Thrones Season 8. The ending was somewhat satisfying. The journey sucked. Yet I still felt plot holes and unfulfilled fan service in my heart. Jeez, that's really a tongue twister. Unfulfilled fan service. Unfulfilled. Game of Thrones to me is like that ex you fell head over heels in love with, but as time went on in the relationship, she grew more and more distant until you didn't recognize the girl you fell in love with anymore. Personal moment. Anyways, Game of Thrones left a hole in my heart and I wandered YouTube, bored out of my mind. Then I noticed this ad in big red letters that spelled out Warrior. And right next to it were white letters that said, based on the writings of Bruce Lee. And my immediate reaction was, "You son of a bitch, I'm in!" Instead of clicking the ad like any sane person would, I decided to type the title into the YouTube search bar instead and click enter. I'm then greeted by movie clips and trailers of Warrior, starring Tom Hardy and Joel Edgerton. I scroll down a bit more and check out the first trailer for Warrior Cinemax.
We're gonna take back our city!
They want a war. Let's give them one.
Okay. Let's go. You had that the whole time?
Not that impressed, sadly. Then I check out Becoming Warrior Part 1, and for the next 8 videos, I am captivated. We're given a history of who Bruce Lee was before and during his fame, which is told by his daughter Shannon Lee and the cast and crew of the show. I had read books and watched an old docu about Bruce Lee, but I still managed to learn some new tidbits about him, such as him being a quarter European from his mother's side, and how he got his Green Hornet role through hairstylist Jay Sebring. The writings of Lee that established the concept of warrior came from him being replaced by David Carradine in the show Kung Fu, which he was originally the lead in. The story, originally titled The Warrior, centered around a protagonist named Assam, who came to America to find his sister. It would be a Western-themed show, but have Eastern influences within it. Fast forward 40 or so years later, and the project is brought to life by his daughter and the team from Cinemax. A lot of research went into the series, thanks to Jonathan Trooper and co., in order to get the feel and atmosphere of the late 1800s San Francisco, and share a piece of history that not everyone knows about, such as the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, Chinese immigrants working in gold mines, etc. I'm not a history buff, and I'm only giving small examples to show what kind of historical environment Warrior wanted to capture and tell a story about. And when I think about Chinese American/immigrant history, I'm always reminded of this scene from Dragon, the Bruce Lee story.
You speak English? I'm practicing my English. Going to America. I've always wanted to go to America. James Dean. French fries. Sky's the limit, that's what they say.
Not a Chinaman's chance. They say that too. You ever hear that?
No.
You know, the Chinese, we built the railroads there. The Americans, the Guaylo, would lower Chinamen over the cliff in baskets to set the dynamite. Get pulled up too slow. Bang! Rope break. Bye-bye. 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 Americans say, not a Chinaman's chance. And a round-eyed Guaylo would laugh. We're not human to them. How do you know? I'm a history teacher.
Yet, when Warrior wanted to put emphasis on the Chinese experience of the 1800s in a dramatic retelling, I knew I had to give it a watch. Warrior premiered on Cinemax on April 5th, 2019. The season was already at episode 8 when I began episode 1, and I had no idea what to expect. Would this be another narrative agenda-driven show? Would it be a flop? Would it be the "I did this because I'm Asian" preachy type of show? Whatever the pilot had in store for me as a viewer, I had to keep the words of Kratos from God of War in mind.
Keep your expectations low, Prey, and you will never be disappointed.
The very first scene of Warrior shows our main character Assam getting off a boat and arriving at an immigration center in San Francisco, where he and many others are greeted by angry Irish workers. They're also greeted by a Chinese worker named Wang Chao, who welcomes them to America and promises them wealth through their hard work. As they all pass through, one of the immigration officers knocks a plate of rice off the hands of a young boy. The rice is covered in dirt, but he still picks it up to eat. This is when Assam steps in.
做乜嘢？
我肚餓。
咪要啦，嚟啦！我話咪要啦。What's with this one?
The immigration officers notice that Assam is the rebellious type and decides to pick on him.
You think you can take me on?
That's the wrong question. The right question is, do you really want to find out?
I sat in awe after that scene, but also was a bit hesitant to get my hopes up. We've seen many Bruce Lee imitators throughout the years, ranging from Bruce Lee, Dragon Lee, and these guys. So I wasn't sure I was ready for another "what-tawing" guy, if this is what we were gonna get. The pilot would continue to surprise me. After the fight at the immigration center, our protagonist Assam is taken in by Wang Chao, who introduces him to the Hop Wei Tong, one of the 3 Chinese gangs of Chinatown.
He's got serious skills. I just saw him take out 3 immigration bulls. Fast as shit. Went through them like they weren't even there.
That transition, though. Assam is then introduced to Father Jun, the leader of the Hop Wei Tong, who welcomes him into their gang because of his martial arts skills. He also befriends young Jun, the son of Father Jun. The next character we are introduced to is Officer Lee, who witnesses a murder in Chinatown by the hands of 2 Irishmen. This is what forces the mayor to have the police put together a patrol group for Chinatown in order to maintain its welcoming image. The patrol group is led by Bill O'Hara, an Irish cop and war veteran who thought that he would be transferred elsewhere, but instead is forced to patrol Chinatown with a hand-picked squad by his chief, one of the squad members being Officer Lee. The next character we're introduced to is Dylan Leary, the loudest voice of the Irish workers, who is willing to stand up for his own people and go to war against any other workers since they came over and took their jobs. When our focus shifts back to Assam, he's given a tour around Chinatown and is taken to a brothel. Soon this scene happens. As you can tell, I immediately fell in love with the show from here on out. Warrior revived everything I loved about Game of Thrones, but on an Asian level, I guess you could say. It was almost like watching another fantasy story unfurl. Speaking another language besides English? Check. Rival groups reminiscent of House Stark and Lannister? Check. Telling an interconnected story from multiple point of view characters? Check, check. All these aspects had gotten me hook, line, and sinker. I didn't describe everything within the pilot episode, and only gave a brief summary of what and who was important in order to give you an idea of what to expect from Warrior. As the season progresses, you'll see characters grow, characters meeting other characters, stakes be risen, things revealed, and of course, more martial arts action. I'd say check out Warrior on Cinemax and form your own opinion of the show. There are many content creators today who share their opinions on things, and there will be a percentage of the audience who will take it as fact. But I want you to form your own opinion on the matter, and be your own judge without giving away too many details of the content itself, unless it's needed. If you like it, sure. If you don't, that's fine too. Everybody has tastes, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'd also like to note that Cinemax, the network airing Warrior, is about to get its plug pulled since HBO Max is now entering the scene as its replacement, which means we may not get a Warrior Season 3 next year, which also means that whatever seeds that are planted in Season 2, which premieres October 2nd, may not come to fruition due to this situation. In the description of this video, I've left a petition link to keep Warrior Season 3 going, and would greatly appreciate it if you are able to share and sign on it. A show like Warrior doesn't come around too often, and although there may be some that have flew under my radar, like Into the Badlands or Marco Polo, they never really captivated me like Warrior did. Not only is Warrior a great show that's not being talked about enough, it's a reminder to everyone, including myself, that you can leave an impact on the world, whether it be big or small. Warrior is a show that deserves to be prolonged not only just for Asian American audiences, but to preserve the story of a man who wanted to overcome boundaries and unite people of all colors. A man who wanted to share his culture and philosophy through his teachings. A man named Bruce Lee. Today, I still carry on the lessons and words of Bruce Lee. Can't fight like him, but I can live life following his philosophy from time to time. Sure, I still aspire to be a YouTuber, but for now, I'm just an average Joe with a media archived brain, talking into this microphone like a schnook.